Imagine a Hollywood love story so perfect, it felt like it was ripped from a movie script, until it unraveled in a storm of rumors, heartbreak, and one decision that changed everything. Today, we're diving into the scandal that shook Tinseltown. To its core, the collapse of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's marriage, with Blake Lively caught in the middle of it all. This is a tale of love, trust, and betrayal that's packed with twists you won't see coming, so stick with me until the very end to uncover every shocking detail. Trust me, this is one story you don't want to miss. Let's start by painting the picture. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner were Hollywood's golden couple, the kind you couldn't help but root for. They first met in the early 2000s on the set of Pearl Harbor, but it wasn't until they worked together on Daredevil in 2003 that their romance truly sparked. By 2005, they were married, and their life seemed like a fairy tale. 3 adorable kids, Violet, Serafina, and Samuel, a cozy family home, and a bond that felt genuine in a world full of flashy celebrity romances. Fans loved their down-to-earth vibe, their shared laughs on red carpets, and the way they seemed to balance fame with family. But even the strongest relationships can hide cracks. And for Ben and Jennifer, one project would turn their world upside down. Keep watching, because this gets juicy. Fast forward to 2010, and Ben Affleck was stepping into a new chapter of his career. He was directing and starring in The Town, a gritty crime thriller about bank robbers in Boston. This was a big deal for Ben, a chance to prove he was a serious filmmaker, not just a heartthrob. The movie needed a female lead to play Krista Coughlin, a tough, street-smart ex-girlfriend who could hold her own against Ben's character. Enter Blake Lively, a 21-year-old rising star fresh off her role as Serena Vander Woodson on Gossip Girl. Blake was young, glamorous, and desperate to break into films. But here's the problem. She wasn't the obvious pick for the role. Krista needed a hardened, lived-in edge, and Blake's polished red carpet charm didn't quite fit the bill. Producers were skeptical, and they had every reason to be. Could a TV star known for playing a privileged socialite pull off this gritty part? Blake wasn't about to let the role slip away. She was hungry, determined, and ready to fight for her big break. She auditioned multiple times, pouring everything she had into proving she could do it. At one point, she even took a 10-hour round trip, just for a 10-minute audition with Ben. That kind of hustle is hard to ignore, and it definitely caught Ben's eye. Against the advice of his team, who warned that Blake was too young and inexperienced, Ben pushed hard to cast her. He saw something in her, a raw energy, a spark that he believed could bring the character to life. But this wasn't just about her talent. Sources close to the film say that from the moment Blake walked into the audition room, there was an electric connection between her and Ben. It was intense, almost tangible, like the air in the room shifted. People later said it felt like everyone else just disappeared. This wasn't just a casting choice. It was the start of something much bigger. Now, let's talk about Jennifer Garner. She'd been with Ben for years, standing by him through every career peak and valley. They were approaching their 5th wedding anniversary, raising 3 young kids together. To the world, they were rock solid, a family that could weather any storm. But behind closed doors, things were starting to strain. Ben was spending more time away, chasing his ambitions as a director, while Jennifer held things together at home. She was the devoted wife, the hands-on mom, the one who kept their lives grounded. But even she could feel a shift. When she heard Ben had cast a 21-year-old actress as his love interest in a film he was directing, her instincts went into overdrive. Ben was 38, a 15-year age gap. This wasn't just another day at the office. It felt like a red flag waving in her face. And Jennifer's gut was telling her something was wrong. As filming kicked off in Boston, the tension started to build. Ben and Blake were together constantly, working long days that often bled into late-night shoots. The set was alive with energy, but it wasn't just about the movie. Crew members couldn't help but notice how close Ben and Blake were getting. They'd share laughs, swap stories, and had this effortless chemistry that went way beyond the script. Their on-screen scenes were electric, but it was their off-screen connection that had people whispering. Rumors started swirling, first among the crew, then in the tabloids. Headlines popped up, hinting at something more between Ben and his young co-star. For Jennifer, who'd always trusted Ben, this was a nightmare unfolding in real time. She'd stood by him through every project, every rumor, but this felt different. The whispers were starting to sound too real. Jennifer tried to stay calm. She wasn't the type to let gossip rattle her. She even visited the set a few times, bringing their kids along, hoping that seeing things for herself would ease her mind. But what she saw only made her heart sink. Ben and Blake's interactions weren't just professional. There was a warmth, a closeness that felt personal. They'd linger in conversation, share glances that seemed to carry a hidden meaning. It wasn't just Jennifer who noticed. Others on set did too. One insider described their chemistry as so intense that it was like they were in their own world. For Jennifer, this was a gut punch. She'd built her life around Ben, their family, their love. But now, she was starting to wonder if that foundation was crumbling. Things took a devastating turn when Jennifer picked up Ben's phone one day. What she found was like a dagger to the heart. There were text messages from Blake, and they weren't about work. The tone was casual, friendly, too friendly. There was a flirty edge, a familiarity that crossed the line between co-stars. Jennifer's stomach dropped. She confronted Ben immediately, demanding answers. He insisted it was nothing, claiming the texts were just part of their creative process, a way to get into character. But his excuses didn't add up. He'd been distant for months, pulling away from Jennifer and their family. The texts were proof that something was off, and Jennifer wasn't buying his story. Her trust in him, which had been the bedrock of their marriage, was starting to crack. By now, Ben was completely caught up in Blake. Her energy was magnetic, her charm effortless. She had a way of making him feel like the most important person in the room, a feeling he later admitted had been missing in his marriage. Jennifer had been his rock for years, the mother of his children, the one who'd stood by him through every storm. But their relationship had settled into a routine, a comfortable but predictable phase. With Blake, there was excitement, a thrill that felt new and intoxicating. Jennifer could sense it. She confided in close friends, telling them how Ben wouldn't stop talking about Blake, her talent, her passion, her brilliant performances. It was like she was all he could think about. For Jennifer, this wasn't just a passing crush. It was starting to feel like a betrayal of everything they'd built. The breaking point came when Jennifer decided to visit the set unannounced. She wanted to catch Ben off guard, to see what was really going on. What she walked into was worse than she could have imagined. Off to the side, away from the cameras and crew, she found Ben and Blake in a secluded corner, deep in a private conversation. They were speaking in hushed tones, completely lost in each other. The moment they saw Jennifer, they froze, their faces flushed with guilt. The air was thick with tension, and the silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer stood there, her heart racing, trying to process what she was seeing. Their awkward body language, the way they instantly pulled apart. It was all too much. Overwhelmed, she broke down in tears and walked away without saying a word. In that moment, she knew her marriage was hanging by a thread. If filming was painful, the press tour for the town was pure torture. The chemistry between Ben and Blake was front and center, impossible to ignore. They'd sit side by side in interviews, finishing each other's sentences, laughing at inside jokes no one else got. They'd exchange glances that screamed connection, and even the interviewers couldn't help but comment on their vibe. The media went wild, splashing photos of them looking cozy at premieres across every tabloid. Headlines screamed about a possible affair, and the speculation was relentless. For Jennifer, this was humiliating. She'd spent years building a life with Ben, supporting him through every challenge, only to watch him fall for someone else in front of the world. She tried to keep it together, but behind closed doors she and Ben were fighting nonstop. Around the same time, Blake ended her long-term relationship with Penn Badgley, her Gossip Girl co-star. To Jennifer, the timing was no coincidence. It happened right as Blake and Ben were spending more time together, promoting the town and appearing at red carpet events. The media pounced, and industry insiders started talking. They noticed a change in Ben. He seemed more alive, more animated around Blake than he had in years. His usual reserved demeanor vanished when she was around. Whether it was the way he leaned in when she spoke, or their effortless banter, it was clear their bond was more than just professional. Jennifer couldn't escape it. The interviews, the photos, the headlines, they were everywhere. A constant reminder of what was slipping away. Despite the pain, Jennifer tried to hold her. Head high. She'd always been the strong one, the one who kept their family grounded. But according to friends, she was falling apart inside. She confronted Ben again, asking point blank if he was having an affair. He denied anything physical had happened, but admitted to an emotional connection with Blake. That was the final straw. Even if they hadn't crossed a physical line, Ben's heart wasn't fully with Jennifer anymore. She realized their marriage was unraveling, and no matter how hard she fought, she couldn't pull it back together. The trust they'd built over years was gone, replaced by doubt and heartbreak. Here's where the story gets even wilder. Ben and Jennifer's own love story had started in a strikingly similar way. Back in 2003, Ben was engaged to Jennifer Lopez when he met Jennifer Garner on the set of Daredevil. Their connection was instant, undeniable. Soon after, he called off his engagement to J.Lo and started a new life with Jennifer. At the time, it felt like fate, two people destined to find each other. But now, history was repeating itself in the cruelest way. Jennifer, who'd once been the woman Ben couldn't resist, was now the one being pushed aside. For those who'd followed Ben's romantic history, it was impossible to ignore the pattern. He'd fall hard, make big promises, then find himself drawn to someone new when the spark faded. And with Blake in the picture, Jennifer was no longer the one holding his attention. The fallout from the town didn't end when filming wrapped. Years later, in 2014, the wounds were still raw. Ben was offered a movie role that would have had him working alongside Ryan Reynolds, who was now married to Blake. Jennifer put her foot down, refusing to let him take the job. She couldn't stomach the idea of Ben and Blake being in the same orbit again. That alone shows how deeply the situation had scarred her. The cracks in their marriage, which had started forming during the town, only grew wider over time. By 2018, their divorce was finalized, but insiders say the real end came much earlier. It wasn't the nanny scandal that broke them, as some tabloids claimed. It was the town. It was Blake. It was the slow, painful unraveling that began when Ben met someone who made him feel alive again. Meanwhile, Blake moved on with her life, seemingly untouched by the drama. After a brief fling with Leonardo DiCaprio, she started dating Ryan Reynolds, who she met while filming Green Lantern in 2010. At the time, Ryan was still married to Scarlett Johansson, but crew members noticed how close he and Blake were on set. Scarlett skipped the premiere, and soon after, she and Ryan announced their divorce. Within months, Blake and Ryan were an item. Sound familiar? People started to notice a pattern with Blake, getting close to her married co-stars, leaving a trail of broken relationships in her wake. Her wholesome image as America's sweetheart was starting to show cracks, but somehow she always managed to come out on top. Let's dig deeper into that pattern. Just months after The Town, Blake was cast in Green Lantern opposite Ryan Reynolds. Crew members on that set noticed the same thing they'd seen with Ben, an undeniable closeness between Blake and her leading man. Ryan and Scarlett's marriage was already on shaky ground, but Blake's presence didn't help. Scarlett's absence from the premiere raised eyebrows, and when their divorce was announced, the timing felt too convenient. Blake and Ryan were together almost immediately, sparking whispers that she had a knack for getting involved with men who were already spoken for. First Ben, now Ryan. It was hard to ignore the similarities. Yet Blake's public image remained untarnished, her girl-next-door charm shielding her from scrutiny. But the cracks in that image are starting to show. Fast forward to today, and Blake's reputation is under fire. She's currently facing a major lawsuit from her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, who's accused her of controlling behavior on set. The allegations have sparked a firestorm, with many believing it inspired Ben to finally speak out about what happened during the town. He's not the only one with stories. Several former co-stars have called Blake out over the years. Armie Hammer, who had a brief role on Gossip Girl, described her as difficult to work with. Another cast member, who was on the show for all 6 seasons, went further, calling her behavior horrendous. Even Leighton Meester, Blake's on-screen best friend, reportedly kept her distance whenever possible. These aren't just random complaints. They paint a picture of someone whose behind-the-scenes actions don't always match her public persona. The Baldoni lawsuit has brought new attention to Blake's past. Insiders are starting to talk, and the stories are piling up. One source who worked with Blake on a different project described her as charming in public but ruthless when it came to getting what she wanted. Another claimed she had a habit of dominating sets, making sure all eyes were on her. These accounts, combined with Ben's confession and the Green Lantern rumors, are making people question the image Blake has carefully crafted. Her wholesome, relatable persona, the one that sold millions of magazines and won her countless fans, is starting to feel like a facade. And with the world watching, the truth is finally catching up. Jennifer Garner, meanwhile, has taken the high road. She's rebuilt her life with grace and strength, focusing on her kids and her career. She's in a happy, long-term relationship, and her work in films like The Atom Project and Deadpool and Wolverine has reminded everyone what a powerhouse she is. Through it all, she stayed silent about the Blake situation, never once airing her pain in public. That quiet dignity has earned her even more love from fans. Even when she worked with Ryan Reynolds, she made a point to avoid any joint press appearances with Blake. That level of avoidance speaks volumes about the lasting impact of what happened. Jennifer's moved on, but some wounds never fully heal. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This scandal isn't just about one couple or one movie. It's about the messy human side of Hollywood. Ben and Jennifer's marriage was built on love and trust, but it couldn't withstand the pressures of fame, temptation, and one fateful casting decision. Blake's role in this drama, whether intentional or not, has left a lasting mark, and her own story is far from over. As new details emerge, the world is starting to see a different side of her, one that's not so sweet or innocent. Ben's decision to speak out now, years later, suggests he's ready to set the record straight. Is he trying to clear his conscience? Or is there more to his story we don't know yet? For Jennifer, the pain of those years lingers, but she's chosen to rise above it. Her refusal to work near Blake, even indirectly, shows how deeply the betrayal cut. Yet she's never let it define her. She's built a life full of love, purpose, and joy, proving that you can come out stronger on the other side. Her silence on the matter only adds to her strength. She doesn't need to spill tea to win people's respect. Fans have rallied around her, seeing her as the real hero of this story, the one who faced heartbreak and came out shining. So, what does this saga teach us? It's a reminder that even the most picture-perfect relationships can hide struggles beneath the surface. Fame amplifies everything: love, mistakes, regrets. Ben and Jennifer's story started with so much promise, but one decision, to cast Blake Lively in the town, set off a domino effect that changed everything. Blake's patterns, from Ben to Ryan and beyond, are making people question the image she's built. Is she the victim of unfair scrutiny? Or is there truth to the stories piling up against her? As for Jennifer, she's a testament to resilience, showing that you can rebuild your life even after the deepest betrayals. If this Hollywood drama has you hooked, don't stop here. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a deep dive into the juiciest celebrity stories. Drop a comment below. Do you think Blake's reputation can recover? Or is this the end of her sweetheart image? What about Jennifer? Do you admire her for staying silent? Or do you wish she'd tell her side? Let's keep the conversation going. Share this video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one for more secrets from Tinseltown.